back on the road again. I've been traveling. I've turned every curve and bend. I've been a-traveling. But you know where I go, what I see is the world telling me you're alone on your own, and you've got to be watching out for yourself. Be thinking constantly, 'cause you know your bike is just like a car. Got to take it like you know who you are. If you wanna be a rebel, wow, ride it in style. Open your eyes and you'll see. Just like because, just like because. Just like because, just like because. Just like because, just like
When there's more than one person on the road, you've got to communicate. Sometimes other people don't want to communicate with you. Then you've got to watch out for yourself. Defense. It's all defense.
Defense!
street, or everywhere I go I meet some signs trying to tell me something. At every corner, every bend, it seems as though there's just no end to them signs, always trying to tell me something. Now when I ride, I get to feeling free and clear, don't you? And it's not always pleasant being told what I should do. But when I see a sign ahead, I read it through and through. You want to know why? It's trying to tell me something. Yeah, that's for sure. Why, just imagine if there were no signs to help you go. All those big old buses, they just run you off the road. So think about it that way. You're going to see signs can bring you luck. Because being safe's much better than being flattened by a truck. And that's why every time I meet some cars, have to thank my lucky stars for signs. They're trying to tell me something. Yeah, talking about signs, they're there to help you. So next time you're out on your bike, just think what riding might be like without signs, the ones you've been given. And if you want your freedom and you think that you don't need them, remember there's times they're going to keep you living. Well, they color every shape and color you could figure out, but being pretty isn't really what they're all about. There's something we can't do without, so don't you ever doubt that I'm talking about signs, trying to tell you something. Yeah, them signs, trying to tell you something. Root-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. I'm talking about signs.
This is Woody Woodford with the post-race show brought to you by Zip Toothpaste. Welcome, Bob. That was quite a ride.
Thank you, Woody. It's nice to be here.
After a ride like that, you must be exhausted.
Not really, Woody. I never go out riding unless I'm in top shape and feeling okay.
Tell us, Bob, the secret to your riding success. Is it because you use Zip Toothpaste?
Well, no, Woody. I guess there are many things that help me. I have a good bike. I keep it in top shape and I check it out before every ride. I keep my eyes on the road and I always have a good defense.
But it's your control that impresses me. Let's look at the instant replay of Bob's terrific ride and tell us, Bob, in your own words, what's happening.
Well, nothing.
Oh, here it is.
Naturally, I'm riding on the right side of the road. That car weighs me 100 to 1, and if it hits me, I'm flattened. Defense is all I've got.
What a move. You really look good out there. Is it because of Zip Toothpaste?
No, Woody, it's anticipation.
Anticipation? What's that?
Thinking, scanning, looking around. You've got to expect the worst and figure all the angles. You can never tell when the car door is going to pop open in front of you. And with those cars closing in, I decided to play it smart.
A terrific move, Bob.
You've got to look out for yourself out there. Nobody else will.
I noticed, Bob, that you came to a complete stop there. Doesn't that break your rhythm?
No, Woody. Cars have to make complete stops, and so do I. Everybody follows the same rules. Besides, bike riders get tickets, too.
Always looking around before you move out. You've really got those good eyes.
Yes, I do, Woody. My defense is based on giving way to other vehicles. But first, you've got to see them.
A superb defense. Just like Zip Toothpaste, right? Thanks for being such a terrific guest. And now, a word of special interest.
Most accidents are caused by people who don't obey the rules. Please, be a responsible driver. It's the best way to stay alive. Remember, a bike is just like a car.
you're doing. Watch where you're going. You're on your own, but you're never alone on the road. Know what you're doing. Watch where you're going. Playing it cool is the ultimate rule, and you're playing it cool if you know that your bicycle red dust like a car. Got to take it like who you are. If you wanna be a rebel, wow, ride it in style. Open your eyes and you'll see. Just like the car. Just like the car.
Oh, that song's going to be in your head. I already know. So long before I was doing DVDs, my friend Ian and I, we digitized a bunch of these songs from these films, and we did a CD called 16 millimeter film soundtracks, and Just Like a Car was one of them. Was looking to see if there was a presence of it online. I found there's a Discogs mention of it, but I thought that my friend Ian had actually put it on SoundCloud, but now I can't find it. But if I find it, I'll send you a link to the other songs. But yeah, that's a great bike safety film that has a lot of wonderful music. Their version of Signs is much better than the popular version of Signs, I think, to be honest. All right. Now we're going to go up north and have another type of musical ride, thanks to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. such a great film. It's I love the overhead shots of the, it's very Busby Berkeley-esque, and I have other shots like that in other films. There's one with police motorcycles, and it's a motorcycle safety film, so they're all kind of going in this certain, and also one with wheelchairs in that film A Different Approach. I'm sure there's others out there. Of course, then there's all the Busby Berkeley ones, but really, really glorious. So in the background, you might hear this like film that's rubbing up against a reel. That is a film scanner, and I'm scanning a kind of warped print of a Castle film that belongs to another collector, Craig Baldwin. Been digitizing a lot of his films for him over the last several months, and this one takes place in New York City. So maybe we'll get to see it at some point. Did I mention that I'm Skip Alzheimer, and this is the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show, and that I love coffee? A great way you can support AV Geeks is by buying us coffee. Caffeine, it's what makes the world go around, and what makes the Royal Canadian Mounted Police go around, I'm sure. All right, this next film, I don't think this is a trigger film, but maybe it is. I don't know, how many of you like snakes? This film is a pro-snake film, so here it is, For Goodness Snakes.
Pardon me, sir. We're doing some informal street interviews, and we're asking people what they think about the subject of snakes.
Snakes? When I was a kid, I went to camp and I saw a snake, and boy, was I scared. I picked up a rock and I killed that snake. Snake.
Oh, wow. If they leave me alone, I'll leave them alone.
I wouldn't want to have any around, because they're poisonous, you know?
I hate them. They're terrible. Crawl and they disgust me.
Really creepy, man. Really creepy.
Ooh, they're icky and slimy. They're awful things. I hate them.
Some people think snakes are slippery and icky, but they're not. My friend Bob and me, we like to go out in the country sometime to look for snakes. It's a good idea to go with a grown-up person when you hunt snakes, because some of them can be dangerous. Most of them aren't dangerous, though. Rubber boas like to hide under old logs, where it's damp and warm. sometimes when you're looking for snakes, you can find other things, like lizards. I got this one with my lizard noose. It doesn't hurt the lizard. This is called a shovel-nose snake. They are really hard to find. And they're even harder to catch. Some snakes are poisonous. It's a good idea not to put your hands up on ledges, because sometimes rattlesnakes sun themselves on the rocks. The coral snake is poisonous, and the funny thing is it looks a lot like the king snake. So you have to be really careful if you look where there are coral snakes and king snakes around. This is a king snake. It's really very gentle, and they make good pets too. I like snakes. They're a lot of fun. It's fun to go out in the country and just walk around, even if you don't find a snake.
Uh-oh. That was kind of interesting. I think that some footage came out and somebody spliced it on at the end, upside down and backwards. So there is that. Fascinating. All right, so a lot of people were commenting about how straight up 70s the clothes were in that film. Well, this next film is all about clothes and your image, and it's from the 80s, so brace yourself for some shoulder pads and some ties and stuff. So here we go. Here's your image.
Hi, I'm Eileen Finn,
And I'm Lee Kopp.
and we're here to talk about something that's so simple, most of us never think about it.
And that's a thing called image. Every day, each of us makes a statement about the sort of person we are through lots of little things we do. These things include the way we dress, the way we groom ourselves, the way we communicate with words, and the way we use nonverbal forms of communication.
And there's more. The way we perform our work also makes a statement about us. And even the way we stand, or sit, or use our eyes reveals details about us.
We all make judgments of other people based on these kinds of things, and all the people with whom we deal use the same kinds of behaviors to make judgments of us.
This collection of character traits and behavior is what we call an image. Every person that you deal with has an image of you, and you have an image of each of them as well. This image can be very important to your career and to your personal life. People make decisions that affect you based on the image they have of you. These decisions include things like getting a job or a promotion, or losing one. Things like making a sale, or losing one. Even the difference between making a friend.
Or losing one.
So the image other people have of you is important to you as an individual, and that same image often becomes the image of the company you work for. When we talk about image, we're including a whole range of verbal and nonverbal communications. We're going to try to get you to think about the kind of image you project.
And we're going to suggest some ways to possibly improve it.
People can have a positive
or a negative image of you.
And either one is pretty easy to get. For example, think of the people you know who seem effective and competent. Those people with a good image.
And now, think of the people who don't seem so effective or competent. The people whose image isn't quite so good.
The first, the most basic element in anybody's image has to do with cleanliness. It's the thing almost all of us notice first. But everybody already knows that, don't they? Well, almost everybody. And most of us have had to work around people who are a little casual about their personal habits. And since it isn't really polite to say,
Fred, you stink.
Instead we say, no, thanks, not today.
Or sometimes, Fred, hey, we're going to let you work out there in the warehouse.
Gee, this is... Oh, thanks. So long.
So keeping yourself and your clothes clean and neat are really basic to a good image. Someone who is casual about it does so at his or her peril. Other people will assume that the casual, uncaring personal habits will be casual, uncaring professional habits as well.
The next thing that people usually notice is the way you dress yourself, the kind of clothes you choose to wear, and the way you wear them. Everybody wears a uniform of some sort. In the military, details of the uniform can tell a lot about the person inside. Rank, which tells something about responsibility and authority. Qualifications, which suggest what sort of work the individual performs. And experience.
Those of us in civilian jobs wear a different kind of uniform, but it often reveals similar information to the people around us. We tend to use our clothing to tell others what we think we are or would like to become.
Things like rank within our companies. People who wear dark, conservative suits are telling the rest of us that they're administrators of high rank, and most of us recognize that rank right away. The clothes people wear also suggest the kind of work they do. Men who work in offices often wear a tie. If they work with their hands, they probably won't wear a tie.
Proper attire for women is not as formalized, but executives generally wear suits rather than dresses. And we use details of our attire to let everybody know what our attitudes are about a whole range of subjects. Things like this help define our image. For instance, are you the type of person who tries to fit in and be part of the system?
Or are you the type that just has to be different?
And just like soldiers, we wear our little badges to show our qualifications and interests.
How we dress and act in business and social situations provides clues about how we feel about the other people in those situations and how much we value the opportunity to be with them.
The point is, our dress should be appropriate for each situation we're in and should present us positively in that situation.
For example, the unshaven salesman who calls on a corporate president while wearing a dirty shirt and worn-out blue jeans may not make the sale if that was his objective, but he will certainly make a strong statement about how he views himself and some of his business standards. If his primary objective was to say, "I don't believe in conformity at any level," well, he will have accomplished that.
If you have questions about how you should dress for any occasion, observe what the standard seems to be, and then ask questions of someone who knows.
There's another basic area of your image which has to do with something called body language. Body language includes the way you stand, the way you use your hands, your eyes, and the many ways you can reveal your attitude through facial and body expression.
Just consider eye contact for a moment. Here is someone who is clearly not very comfortable about this conversation. He isn't willing to say so in words, but his eyes say it anyway. Behavior like this will influence your image, and not in a positive way.
But here is someone who is clearly interested. Her eyes tell us so. She is paying attention and is listening intently. Her image will be affected also, but in a much more positive way.
For example, you can demonstrate poise and confidence, or shyness and insecurity, or even aggressiveness and hostility, all with just your posture. Now, this shouldn't come as a complete surprise, but just a reminder and thought.
The next time you meet someone, think about the little ritual you both go through and how you use it to evaluate the other person.
You approach each other, being careful not to get too close or too far away.
And you greet each other in a ritual way. You shake hands and ask a rather meaningless question. How are you?
And you get a ritual answer in return. I'm fine, how are you? These people are performing a little dance, and their skill at it will determine how the other will feel about them. It is the beginning of their image in the eyes of the other person. At this stage in their relationship, a lot of that image will depend on those elements we've just been discussing: grooming, body language, and the first impression. Each will be evaluating the other on things like sincerity, friendliness, attention to detail, and appropriate behavior, all from that seemingly innocent first meeting and the image that was projected.
So, if we make a bad impression, it can take years to change. It makes sense to be very careful about the way we behave in an introduction.
People who study hiring policies and procedures say that things like poise and self-confidence, along with verbal communication skills, rate well above some things you might think would be more important, like grade point average in school.
Yes, but there's more to maintaining a good image than making a good impression. Most of us have met people who were unqualified for jobs but got them anyway because they were good at making that first impression. So a big part of your image has to do with your performance and not just the first impression.
You know, the beautiful part about this job is I don't really know what I'm doing, but nobody could possibly tell.
And your image is different for the different people with whom you deal. For instance, your mother has one image of you.
My son, he is such a sweet boy. I know they just love him at the office, and I am so proud of him.
And your boss has another.
Oh, yeah. That guy.
So people have an image of you that is also based on the way you perform on a day-to-day basis. For instance, our friend here, who made a great first impression and charmed his way into a good job, thought his first impression was his only impression.
Man, this job is no sweat. Well, let me see. What should I be doing next here? Well, nobody can tell what I'm doing anyway. What's this? This looks interesting. Nah, outdated material. Must have been sitting on my desk here for about 6 weeks now. If you wait long enough, you don't have to do it.
I'm always having to take up his slack and make excuses for his long lunch hours. And I think he's playing games with his expense account and timesheets.
He never gets his work done on time, and when he does get it done, it has to be done over.
Yellow.
Would you come over to my office? There's something I've got to talk to you about.
I wonder what that call was about. Gee, well, I don't know. I've been here 30 days. Maybe they're going to give me another promotion. Well, let's just take a look and see.
Poise and self-confidence are excellent components of your image, but make sure that they're based on reality, competence, and ability. It's one thing to look like you know what you're doing. It's another to do your work well. Your image is subject to change on a daily basis, for better or for worse. So your good image starts with simple things like grooming, body language, and proper attire. It builds on those things with job performance and goes on to include lots of little things like composure, honesty, intelligence, and communication skills.
Consider honesty. Most people expect others to be truthful and fair in what they say and what they do. But we all have encountered people who cheat on their time cards and take lunch hours that are usually longer than they're supposed to. It gets noticed, and it naturally becomes a part of their image.
Well, you see, I looked at, when I got up this morning, I must have set my watch a little quick that
Or how about effort? There are people who get their assignments done. There are other people who don't. Some people are just more productive than others, and since we get paid for being productive, those are the people who have a solid reputation. You could even call it a good image.
I don't think anybody likes to work late, but there are times occasionally when it's important for me to get something finished, and there's no alternative. I'm proud of the work that I do, so if it takes a little extra effort once in a while, that's okay. Besides, I guess I'd rather have the people I work with think of me as someone they can depend on, instead of a person who always leaves at 5 o'clock.
They'll stay late once in a while, when it's necessary, but they're also the ones whose work habits let them get finished on time, most of the time.
Composure is another image builder. There are all sorts of stresses in life, personal and professional. If you happen to be one of the people who can handle these stresses without getting upset or throwing a tantrum, other people will notice. Your image will include the valuable element of composure.
And finally, competence. Communication skills are an important part of your image, and one of the most important parts of effective communication is to know what you're talking about. One way to make sure you do know what you're talking about is to do your homework by preparing for discussions.
Whenever I call on a new client, I spend some time studying their company by reading their catalogs, newsletters, and any brochures they might have, because this gives me a good idea of their products and services, and usually some clues about the problems and possibilities of working with them. It just gives me a chance to prepare solutions to their problems, whatever they might have, which means sales for our company.
Another way to demonstrate competence is to think through a problem.
For instance, if you're going for a job interview, you'll probably have to fill out an application.
A thoughtful person will come prepared with a pen.
Simple, right? But then almost all of the things that go to make up your image are simple, obvious ways to let people know you care.
If the image you project is important to you, if you're at all interested in making it work for you, there are only a few simple things you've got to worry about.
And when all else fails, remember to use your brain. It's sometimes surprising how few people think problems all the way through.
The image other people have of you is a valuable thing. It deserves to be developed and maintained. It's a way of telling other people about yourself.
Why take chances? Show them your best side. After all,
it's your image.
Make it work for you.
Oops, hit the wrong thing. Wow, such an amazing film, and that would have probably been the film that I would have been forced to see if I had continued my career path on working in computer science. And I was very much anti-tie and suit, so I would have really hated that and fought pretty hard against it. And made choices based on not having to wear those suits, only in rare cases. So, yeah, that film resonates with me for many reasons, most of which, like, if I have to dress like that, I am not interested in working with you. Has that served me well? I don't know. Maybe. You know, I had to go way in another direction in order to do that. And now, definitely, well, now, you know, who's dressing up at all? Who's wearing a tie, working from home? Bless their hearts, if they are. This next film is fascinating. It's a short little animated film, and it features Eddie Albert from Green Acres. He was a very progressive filmmaker. He did a lot of really fascinating stuff. His film company worked with AT&T and helped with the Bell Science series, and he actually appears in one of them. He also helped, I can't remember the name of the company all of a sudden, but films about human sexuality and teaching kids about human growth and about where babies come from. Really amazing films for their time period. That film. And also a big proponent of solar energy, too. So, yeah, you know, Oliver Douglas wasn't just trapped in a redneck hell in Green Acres. He actually was a really amazing person. So this film is, it's about prejudice. It's called Can You Immunize Against Prejudice?
The news of the day is full of troubles, problems that challenge our time. Here is one we'd like you to think about. Let's look at it from the point of view of three families. One lives in a ground floor apartment, another on the second floor, another on the third floor. These are all sincere, hard-working people. Henry, the father of this family, is a bank teller. He and his wife are anxious to be good parents. They dislike race prejudice and religious prejudice and want their son to grow up free of that sort of nonsense. Now, Henry believes that the main thing is to set a good example. If a child sees good attitudes at home, Henry says he'll grow up with good attitudes. So Henry sets an example. So does his wife. Confidently, they watch the effect on Henry Jr. Then, one day, the little angel comes home looking like a little monster. He's been in a fight. When asked about it, he says, that Jewish boy started it. Wait till the gang gets hold of him, they'll fix him good. They'll fix those blankety blanks. Meanwhile, their neighbors on the floor below have been going about things differently. George, the father, is an insurance salesman, and he also favors friendly relations. But he feels that if you want your kid to have the right attitude, you have to give him the right facts. Facts, information. That's the key to it, says George. So George Jr. gets a lot of information. Quote, there are three main races in the world, unquote. Quote, all three races have made important contributions to culture and civilization, unquote. As Junior acquires more and more knowledge, George and his wife become very confident that all this will keep their son free of prejudice. But one day the bookworm turns. Junior comes home looking like a little tramp. He's been in a fight, and he explains it this way. Those colored kids are always starting it. Wait till I get the gang together. Meanwhile, the family on the ground floor has been going about things in a still different way. Fred, who is sergeant at arms at the courthouse, also favors friendliness between races and religions, but he feels it has to be backed by law and order. So, one day when his kid uses some language Fred doesn't like, Fred tells him right away he'll be thrashed if he does it again. Junior seems to understand, all right, but one day he has a little trouble. It's those Italian kids again, those blankety-blanks. We're gonna fix them. So, Fred and his wife, George and his wife, and Henry and his wife begin to wonder what they've done wrong. They begin to watch their children more closely. They begin to see what a complicated world their children live in, full of tension and conflict. These start early for any child. From the very beginning, he hears voices of authority that say, no, no, no. This builds resentment in any child. He learns it is not safe to let this resentment out on spokesmen of authority. So he looks for other, safer targets. Some young people find harmless ways of working off their aggressive feelings. But in others, these feelings turn into hidden hate. When such people get together in a gang, the hate can become more dangerous, looking for expression, looking for easy targets, finding justification in any differences, such as religion or race, sometimes with tragic results. In a world in which such tensions exist, what can parents do about prejudice? We have learned to protect our children against smallpox and diphtheria. How can we find some antitoxin against this other disease? If the methods of these parents were not adequate, why weren't they? What should these parents do? What is your advice? How can we immunize our children against prejudice?
I'm not going to stop the projector.
The problem, how can we immunize our children against prejudice, has been the subject of our discussion. No, we haven't settled the problem. We've looked at some of the solutions that are tried by people like Henry and George and Fred, but no, we haven't quite solved the problem. So give it further thought, won't you? Because here is one of the problems that challenge our time.
That film came out in 1954. So, we still haven't figured it out. Yeah. And, you know, I wish there was a nice, neat answer for that. But I got to say, stylistically, I love that film. You know, it wasn't super animated, but it was very visually stunning. And also the organ music is so great. So I'm happy that I showed that film. I'm also happy that you guys joined me today. Thanks again. It's always great to present films and get your feedback and have you guys watch them. Most of you for the first time. It's really, really special. And some of these, it's the first time I've seen these films. So thanks for joining me for that. If you like what you saw, you can hit like, subscribe, follow, blah, blah, blah. You know, all the whatevers. Also, you can buy coffee by going to this link right here. As I said, AV Geeks, we live off of coffee, so there you go. And also you can go to avgeeks.com and see other shows that we've done, other films that we've digitized. There are thousands of films up there. And also you can buy DVDs as well. And if you're in the United States, please consider early voting. Early voting ends in North Carolina on the 31st. It's super easy. I was able to go in and out very quickly in Wake County. It took longer to fill out the ballot than it was actually wait in line. So, and I feel like I did a good thing. So, please consider it. Somebody from the UK wrote me and was like, "What are you talking about with voting? What is that? Vote, please." And so I was like, "Well, we have a very big election coming up, so that's what we've been talking about." But so we're international, so people see us from all around the world. I have to remember that. Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. And as always, we look to the Film Can for advice regarding please rewind, to love each other, and there's a peace sign there and stuff. But everybody have a good rest of your day, and I will see you again tomorrow at 1 o'clock. All right, take care, everybody.